Hey folks, thanks for checking into the Neutral Zone Hotel. We are an unapologetically left-leaning podcast. We explore hockey at its best and worst. My name's Benjamin. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a fan of the Ottawa Charge and the Montreal Canadiens. And I just want to say, we have not placed any tariffs on our international takes. So we are going to cover some international thoughts tonight. And I'm not going to charge you 25% more for at least 30 days. With me today is my friend SJ. How you doing, SJ?
Hi, I am SJ. My pronouns are they, them, and I am a Seattle Kraken and Everett Silvertips fan. Hailing.
Yeah, because the Everett Silvertips have treated you well of late.
Yeah, I mean, not this week particularly, but yes, this season certainly. So I'm gonna go ahead and claim them because I need some wins in my life.
How many small dog races have you seen at the Tips games?
I've seen 2. They do 2 a year.
You had to go to those ones.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. When I do I buy 14 games per year. It's basically a 1/3 package or something like that. And then when I do my ticket selection, I pick the dog race games. And everybody does, because those games are always sold out. They are very popular. So this week they didn't set, for some reason, and I think it was because one of the Zambonis might have been broken, so they didn't set up the course with the barriers like they usually do. So there wasn't that eye line barrier for the dogs. So this time when they blew the whistle, the dogs did not go. They just kind of meandered around the start line, and they had to do it all over again. It was so funny. They did eventually manage to get one of the very small, tiny, cute dogs to get all the way down the course. But it was really funny. Usually there are at least a few of them take off at the start. So I loved it. That was the only good thing about that game. The Tips got completely blown out by Spokane. They have a lot of injuries at center right now. So, and they're still first in the league. So I'm not mad or anything. Bad games happen. Burn the tape. And it was Spokane. I got to watch Berkeley Catton play, and Berkeley Catton is a Kraken prospect. He's our best prospect, so it was actually not that bad to see him have a really great game on that top line with Van Olm and Andrew Crystal. So, and Caps fans, Andrew Crystal looks great. I'm sure he'll translate. He'll be the best player on the Washington Capitals in 5 years. That's how that works, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
So what I didn't know when I booked the tickets, but when you come and we go to a 67s game, it will be your 3rd small dog race of the year.
Hell yeah.
So I'm really excited to go watch tiny wiener dogs run around on the ice.
Excellent.
And yeah, we'll have decent seats for that. I can't remember. I think we're on the ends, but we'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm always excited to watch the puppies have a good old time slipping and sledding around on the ice. They actually get pretty good traction. So a much better traction than I personally would get.
All right, we were going to talk about some stuff, but now we're talking about the Everett Silvertips and small dog races. So I think we're just going to do a quick check-in on the Seattle Kraken. So I think, obviously, SJ is a big fan of the Kraken, and that's going to help this discussion. But as the NHL's most recent expansion team, as rumors around expansion continue to sort of percolate, Bettman says, we're not in an expansion mode, but you never know when we're talking $1 billion a team plus. I think expansion mode will come on pretty quickly when they decide they all need a big cash influx that has nothing to do with hockey-related revenue.
At least not unless the players really push for a cut in the next CBA. And I do wonder if they're going to try to get in ahead of that, or if it's going to become a real bone of contention.
Yeah, and it could. that is something that I think the owners would want to protect.
Mm-hmm.
The players, they would say your reward is you get 50% of the hockey revenue from that market, but it'd be interesting. But no, let's check in on the most recent expansion team. So the Kraken are in their 4th year in the NHL. They've missed the playoffs twice, made the playoffs once, and in fact advanced to the second round by defeating the Colorado Avalanche, which I'm told was really cool.
It was great at the time. What a great season. Maddie won the Calder that season. It was.
You're wearing a Maddie for Calder shirt right now?
I am. I felt it was important to recall the good times of that year too. As we watch the Kraken of year 4 careen off of a bridge into a river far below, where they will float away, possibly drowning. Anyway, it's been bad in Seattle this year.
How does a Kraken drown?
That's a good point. That's a strong point. I should have used a completely different metaphor.
Yeah,
you got
I think
me.
so. All right. So why don't you walk us through kind of where you see the strengths of the team, the weaknesses, how you're feeling about the coaching and the prospects, and do you think that this is something that can turn around in the short, like probably done this, you're probably done for this year, but like, how does it look over the next 3 seasons, ballpark?
Oh boy. So I spent the last few days kind of reading some analysis and listening to the podcast, the local stuff, and just kind of like trying to understand where the team is. And I'm going to make a confession. I have barely watched the Kraken play this year. And that is because I care too much. And they have done a lot of losing this year, and they're a tough team to watch. Yeah, they're a tough team to watch. And what I have gathered from my research is that the defense has absolutely stunk it up this year. They cannot keep the puck out of their net, and they can't keep the puck out of their net even when they have basically elite level goaltending from Joey Daccord. It is the defense. They have, with Bilesma and his coaching staff, they have installed a zone defense this year, which is a change up from what they have done. They've installed this zone defense system, and they've really struggled with it. They're not executing it well, and we've seen that from teams in the past who have struggled with switching to zone defense. And they have increased their offensive pop this year, which was a problem. It has been a consistent problem. Does this team score goals? They have largely fixed it. They can score goals this year. They're not usually blowing teams out of the water unless they're playing like San Jose or Chicago. They have been able to have pretty decisive wins over the lowest bottom feeders of the league, but they've struggled against the good teams. Like, they're not winning against those. They're not winning.
And to be clear, they're 13th in the league in goals for right now. So they are absolutely scoring at what I would call a perfectly acceptable wild card rate.
Right. Absolutely. But they give up too much. On the other end, on their defensive pairs, they have 2 extremely good offensive defensemen. They have Vince Dunn who is backed up by Adam Larson on that first pair. And they have Brandon Montour backed up by Jamie Alexiak on that second pair. Those 2 between them mean that, generally speaking, you're always going to have a pretty good puck-moving defenseman on the ice. The problem is that we have become over-reliant on offense from the back end. They're they get behind the net and then maybe they don't get back. So they're giving up a lot. The forward, like, you can generate from the back end, great, but if your forward group isn't doing their defensive duty at the same time, you're kind of screwed. So from what I've been told, that is a big problem this year. It probably would also have helped if in those games that Joey Decord was not playing, we had gotten league average goaltending. Grubauer has been truly bad this year.
He's been a disaster.
He's been quite below average. He has
get up the evolving hockey numbers here.
To the point where they did, apparently that Ducks game was the last straw, and they did waive him after the Ducks game. He has had, they are intending, I'm told, to give him lots of starts in Coachella Valley. He has already played once in Coachella. He had a perfectly fine game in the AHL, so he didn't go down there and utterly collapse, which I think is a good sign. I think they do seem to want to play him as much as they can during Four Nations. Kraken aren't playing anyway. Get him some games. See if he can figure something out, I guess. I don't know. I would not be surprised if we see him back up this year, because the fact is that Alastuska, who they called up to replace Grubauer to back up Joey, is not an NHL goalie. He's kind of a career AHL kind of guy. And he's honestly not had a very good year in Coachella, to the point where he has been losing starts to a Nicholas Coco, who is a rookie goalie. I think Coco might be 21 or 22. Like, he's very young for a goalie. So, I mean, Stezka is definitely not the backup option. I think best case, people are hoping that he'll have, if he stays up and gets some starts in the NHL, which he has never done. He's never played an NHL game. They're hoping that he will be hopefully average. They're desperately hoping and praying for average. I don't know if we'll get that. Like I said, we have no data on what he's like behind an NHL team. But here's the thing. If he's playing behind the Kraken of this year, who are failing to execute a zone defense, he's not going to look any better than Grubauer. So yeah, we're in a real tough spot as far as that goes. Our chances of making the playoffs are nil. And I think at this point we'll probably just play Joey until Four Nations and then see where we're at with Grubauer after that. But like, at this point in the season, we need to start looking at like the future. Yanni Gord is injured. It's going to be 5 to 7 weeks. He had surgery for a sports hernia. He can still be traded before the deadline. He would get back, probably a couple of weeks after the trade deadline passes is when he would be ready to play. I think that they still will look to trade him. He's still a guy who will have a lot of value. I don't know if they'll be able to get like a first round pick. I think that's something to hope for, but not something I'm counting on. Although there don't seem to be a lot of selling teams this year. So it's possible that the Kraken might be able to get something just because does seem to be fewer teams willing to just to offload players this year. The other player we might see moved is Jamie Alexiak. I've heard that one a lot. I don't know. He has another year. I'm not sure what the plan would be to replace him. Because, this year, they would probably just call up Cale Fleury, who was an AHL defenseman. We would play an AHL defenseman for the rest of the year. But, what does that mean for next year? We don't have any defense prospects ready to come up, so they would have to sign somebody. So then the question becomes, well, are you just re-signing the equivalent of Jamie Alexiak for longer term, right, in free agency? What is the long-term plan there? I don't know. I don't know who, I haven't looked at what defensemen are going to be on the market this year, but I would rather they not give another defenseman 7 years in free agency for, a 29-year-old. I'd rather they not do that. So I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. We're just kind of in the dumps. Although Everly's going to come back after 4 Nations. That'll be great. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, no, I think that, well, I mean, they could use him. He was on a pretty good tear before he got hurt. But
yeah, it's not just that. I think it'd just bring the vibes back up. Like, they made him captain for a reason. I think he needs to be on the ice. He needs to be playing. He needs to be in the locker room. And just like, people need to feel better about things, even though it's like, okay, well, I'm not expecting them to win a bunch of games this year just because he comes back. But like, if they can just play respectably, maybe give Shane Wright more ice time. It would be great to have him playing with Shane. Give Shane some good wingers. Bump his ice time up a bit. Right now, he's getting third line ice time. He never plays more than 15 minutes a night. I'd like to see him at least play 16 minutes. That's all. I guess that's what I'm asking for. Maybe the occasional tougher matchup. I don't know. Get him some reps out there. It's
kind of wild. It's kind of wild to me that because of the contract sliding and all the COVID stuff, he's still on his ELC for 2 more years after this year.
Yeah,
That doesn't feel right, does it?
No, it's weird. But they very deliberately slid his contract and he wasn't ready to come up. So, one thing I am a little bit afraid of is that they might move Jaden Schwartz at the deadline, and that the Maddie Beniers, Jaden Schwartz, Capo Caco line has been just a wondrously productive, and like it's really clicking. And if they move Schwartz, we're gonna lose kind of the trigger man on that line, and I don't love that. So
Schwartz has a 16-team no trade list. I mean, and $5.5 million. I think he would be tough to move given his age.
I mean, not as a rental. I don't he's out of contract, right?
No, it's another year.
Oh, he's got another year? I don't know. I hope they keep him for another year, honestly. And I don't think he would be tough to move, though, because he is having a very good year. And if he and he's still going to be useful to a playoff team next year. I think they could really get something for him. I just have real mixed feelings about selling him. Yeah. Well,
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know what this team wants to be sometimes. I don't.
So obviously we've got 2 players here who are on expiring contracts, Yanni Gord and Brandon Tanev. I think it is fair to say both players will be heading to a contender before the trade deadline.
I don't know. We would definitely have to retain on Tanev to get anything. And I honestly don't think that his play has been particularly worth anything this year. Maybe we get something like a 3rd rounder or something for him, but it's like, I just can't get excited about the return for Brandon Tanev. And Gord, like I said, Gord is hurt, and that's going to hurt our return. But he should at least fetch something worthwhile.
That's fair. Yeah, unless they wanted to sell on Schwartz or
Alexiak.
There's really not. Yeah, maybe Alexiak and sell a year.
Yeah,
that might get you something.
Yeah, those are the only 2 other real movable, I think, contracts. And then, like I said, with Alexiak, they would then need to go to free agency to hire an Alexiak replacement because there's nobody in the system. Or make a trade. Sense. They could make a trade. They could make a trade for a defenseman. It's perfectly possible. I don't
know if it's possible for anyone to make a trade anymore in the NHL.
We haven't had any of those lately.
Haven't had any trades in 5 whole days. Come on.
Yeah, it has.
All right.
We're not talking about it this show because we kind of agreed we didn't feel like it. But yeah, there has been sort of that pre-Four Nations fake trade deadline happening. So we have seen quite a bit of player movement in the league.
So Scott Wheeler from The Athletic has completed not completed, but he's released most of his prospect rankings. The Seattle Kraken come in at number 10. He defines a prospect as a player who is under the age of 23 and not established as a full-time player, which is arbitrary, but let's be clear. Usually it's pretty clear. So he has them at 10th, and I'm just going to go through a couple of the people here and get your feeling. And one we've already touched on this episode. So Berkeley Catton from the Spokane. I always thought it was pronounced Spokane, but apparently it's Spokane.
It is
but Spokane Chiefs.
Yes, it is Spokane.
So how are you feeling about Berkeley Catton?
Well, I said he's great. I saw him. I've seen him play a couple of times this year in person, and I'm very high on Catton. He's not going to be an NHL player next year.
No,
but I'm very high on him.
No, he'll be in Coachella for sure, unless something crazy happens.
Yeah. Yep. He should be in Coachella next year.
Yeah, projecting 107 points in 57 games for him at Elite Prospects, which is pretty good.
I'm excited for him. He's our best prospect, I think.
What about Carson Repkoff? Rakoff. See?
He should be in Coachella next year as well. As a goal scorer, he's been a great goal scorer in the CHL. He got certain Ottawa 67 coaches really screwed him in WJC, I think. So we're all very bitter about that. But I'm excited to see what he'll do in the AHL next year.
You're going to get to boo Dave Cameron in person. Don't worry.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. So, yeah, he'll be... I'm excited to see what he does in the pros.
Jagger Furcus.
I mean, he's in Coachella this year. He hasn't had a bad rookie season. He's not NHL ready yet. I don't expect to see him next year. I don't see him pushing for a spot yet. He's going to need another couple years if he makes it, which isn't a guarantee.
What about Edward Chalet?
Chalet has had a great season in CV. He's doing as a 19-year-old. He escaped the CHL, which was terrible. He did 1 year in the Ontario Hockey League. It was awful. And Kraken were like, no, don't ever go back. Come to CV. So they moved him in with Stezka, the CV's Czech goalie, and his family to actually help him have a good transition to North America. And he's had a real bounce back year. I think we took him 18th or something overall. He was our pick from the good year, from the after year two. I'm really hopeful that he's going to be a good player. I would love to see him get some NHL games next season. Maybe
he was
not
fantastic at the World Juniors this year.
Yeah,
so.
He had a great World Juniors this year. So I'm really excited to see. Hopefully he's ready to get some call-ups next year. Let's see. I'm excited to see if maybe they give him 9 games at a training camp, that kind of thing.
Ty Nelson. He's the top defender in your prospect pool.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's not an offensive guy. He's kind of a defensive guy. It's going to be several years before if he makes it at all.
He was the number 1 pick in the OHL, so I find that interesting. It'll be interesting to see how he turns out.
Well, let me rephrase. He's not putting up numbers in CV.
Yeah, because he was pretty big. He was pretty strong in the OHL, if I recall correctly. But he was a 2nd or 3rd round pick, so he definitely didn't become the player I think that they were thinking he would when he came in, but that happens all the time in the OHL, right? So
yeah. Yanni Newman, one you didn't mention.
Oh, he was next.
Okay. Yanni Newman has looked awesome this year. He should get games next year. I want to see him in the NHL next year. Maybe not full-time, but I want to see him. He's been great in CB.
I'm just scrolling through now and thinking I don't think a lot of these guys have chances to get there. Or if they do, it won't be as regular. Ryan Winterton, I think he's had some games this year.
Yep. He's had a couple of years of getting called up. He was our 3rd-round pick in the Beniers draft. He needs to make it. He either needs to make the team next year, or he's probably never going to make it. He'll be like a career AHL guy, and then, they won't extend him when he's off his ELC, and then he'll, go to some other AHL team. That happens all the time.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. And then, like Mulgaard, Caden Price, David Goyette, any of these names popping for you?
Goyette's a funny one because we took him before. We took Goyette in the draft before the Canadiens picked Lane Hudson, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, Goyette, man! If only we'd known to take Lane Hudson instead." I don't think Goyette's going to make it. Who knows? He could surprise me, but
I think Lane Hudson might be an NHL player, though.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's definitely one where people are like, I think Francis might have whiffed on that one.
All right. So, do you think this is a playoff team in 3 years with these prospects coming up?
I think they need to make some trades.
Do you think that Ron Francis is the right guy to make those trades?
He hasn't done awful on trades. Maybe. So I wish he was a little more aggressive. But on the other hand, I don't want to making bad deals either. My dog is whining at me.
I think you just explained in a nutshell why NHL GMs are sometimes reluctant to play the market.
Yeah.
I don't want to make a bad trade.
Yeah, he's a real risk-averse. He's a real risk-averse kind of guy. He just is.
Makes sense.
On the other, and I don't know. I think that some of our uglier contracts, like the Stevenson contract, with the rising cap, it's not going to look so bad in 3 years. But it's not great. We're definitely gonna buy out Grubauer this year. I don't know what to think of. I'm not sure Burakovsky is ever going to be good again. Not in Seattle, anyway. Maybe they're probably going to have to pay somebody to move that contract. Yeah, so it's just kind of...
Grubauer is getting bought out. Grubauer, if you buy him out, you have a $4 million savings next year and a $2.8 million savings the year after. And you pay $1.6 million for the next 2 years.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. You got to do it.
Yeah, there's no way, especially with the cap going up, there's no way that you don't buy this contract out. According to Evolving Hockey, he has the worst goals saved above expected in the league as a total at 14.5 goals saved above expected in only 21 games.
Yeah.
That is worse than Tristan Jarry. That's worse than Samuel Ersson. It's worse than... Well, Willie Husso is worse per 60. But it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So...
On the other hand, here's one thing Francis has done great this year. He traded for Capo Caco.
You know what? The Capo Caco trade is a no-brainer. Will Borgen is a perfectly acceptable hockey player.
That's right.
But Capo Caco has been great since he came over.
I think that was a trade that was great for both teams, both the Rangers, and I think it was great for Borgen, who was never going to get second pairing ice time in Seattle with Brandon Montour blocking him. And it was great for the Kraken because we got Caco back, who seems to be genuinely a first-line player, and he was never going to get that in New York. So, yeah, great trade all around. Francis has made some good trades. Like, the Bjorkstrand trade was great. The Caco trade was great. He's made some decent trades for futures that I've been very happy with. I'm super high on Yanni Newman. Yanni Newman was the pick from the pick we got for dumping Lauzon on the Predators. They gave us a second.
Wow.
Like, what a real no-brainer trade, but he was there to make it. And it's all the problems that I've had have been some like odd free agency signings.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think the Chandler Stevenson signing is... I agree with you in that the amount of money the cap is going up will probably negate some of the worst aspects of that unless he completely falls off a cliff.
Yeah. I mean, if he falls off a cliff too hard, we can just pretend like he's injured and put him on LTIR forever, right? That's how that works. For Vegas, anyway.
You know what? I've been told. So, yeah, okay. Well, that's a pretty good, I think, review of the Kraken.
Yeah. Do you want to share how you feel about the Canadiens' recent?
No.
No. Okay, fair enough.
No, the Habs, they're coming back to earth. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah.
I think it was good for them to have a winning streak. I am not blown away that, especially with a couple injuries, I'm not blown away that it's changed. So, do we want to take a quick break, or do we just want to go through and talk about the next thing?
Let's take a little break.
Sure. So, hey, folks, we're going to take a quick break, but just so you know, you can follow us on Instagram or Bluesky at Neutral Zone Hotel. Join our Discord, neutralzonehotel.com/Discord. Hang out with us. You can hit us up, feedback at neutralzonehotel.com, YouTube at Neutral Zone Hotel. You know what? This is all pretty straightforward, right? Like, it's all at Neutral Zone Hotel somewhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, give us a thumbs up or 5 stars on your podcast platform of choice. We really appreciate it. We'll be right back. Hey folks, we're back. So the Foreign Nations face-off kicks off next week, and while we are certainly going to be tracking and following it, it does have kind of a fake tournament feel, doesn't it, SJ?
I have never been less excited for a tournament.
Really? Because I feel like you're not excited for like the men's championships every year.
That's true. I don't even watch those.
They're pretty fake too.
They are fairly fake, except for when they want to, like, our goalie gets like an ACL tear in them, and then they feel very real. Yeah.
So what I wanted to do is kind of
now I'm laughing about the fact that the results are fake, but the injuries are real.
So one of the constant demands from the NHLPA is to be allowed to do best on best play. And while, as we discussed when we got into our deep dive on kind of best on best hockey, the World Cup and thus the Four Nations spins out of the Canada Cup, which was created when there were significant barriers to international participation in the Olympics. Ever since the introduction of players to the Olympics in '98, the World Cup has felt increasingly more fake. And I think it's what's brought us to this moment. So I wanted to talk specifically about the history of the World Cup and why that kind of gets us to where we are. So the last Canada Cup was 1991, and it was held in August to September of 1991. SJ, do you know what was happening in this time period in 1991?
The end of the Cold War?
That's right. So this is during the...
Yes, I got it.
The August coup?
Is this a test? Do I get points?
Yes, you get one point.
Yeah.
So this was during the August coup, during which multiple members of the Communist Party attempted to seize control of the USSR from Mikhail Gorbachev and cease the dissolution of the Soviet Union. As a result, the USSR team that went to this tournament was not up to their usual snuff. This also happens to be the last time that the USSR sent an actual USSR team to an international hockey tournament. The next major tournament would be the 92 Olympics. They sent what they called the unified team, which consisted of players from all the former Soviet republics, but it was not under the USSR flag. However, this team was not very good. As a result, they came in second to last. Canada won because, Canada. But this is kind of the beginning of sort of the tournament feels a little fake, doesn't it? Because it was designed to be best on best, but the Soviets couldn't send their best players. They did not want to send players like Pavel Bure, Vladimir Konstantinov, because they felt those players would defect. There had been several, so there'd already been a couple high profile defections. Alexander Mogilny and Sergei Fedorov being the ones that come immediately to mind.
I mean, yeah. When did Konstantinov defect?
He didn't.
He didn't?
No, he joined the Red Wings that season.
Okay.
I don't believe it was. Oh no, yeah, no.
Yeah,
I guess they're saying it's a defection.
I mean, I just watched a documentary about this.
Oh, you just watched it.
Yeah. I watched the Russian 5 like a month ago. And
I watched that over Christmas as well. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a good documentary.
Okay. Yeah, so I was thinking of one of the other ones. Yeah, so he left. They were planning to sneak him out around it. However, he ended up taking a train to Budapest and flying out from there. So that's around the time that he did, but they didn't put him on the team because they were worried he would. And of course, 3 months later, it became moot anyway when the Soviet Union finally fell. Mm-hmm. So that was the last Canada Cup, and it was determined. The NHL basically said, "Okay, we want to see a new world. Let's get rid of the partisanship of the Canada Cup, and let's make this more of a World Cup." So the first World Cup expanded from 6 countries to 8. So it was Canada, Russia, United States, Slovakia, Finland, Sweden, Germany, Czech Republic at the time. And games were played all over the world. So Moscow, Stockholm, Calgary, Vancouver, Detroit, San Jose, Providence, Rhode Island.
What?
One of these things is...
They have a hockey rink there?
That was an exhibition game.
Yeah, clearly.
The actual games were hosted in Vancouver, Montreal, Philly, Ottawa, New York, Stockholm, Helsinki, Prague, Garmisch. I don't know where that is. Stockholm. And then the finals were held in Montreal and Philadelphia, primarily Montreal.
But in Germany?
Yeah, I guess they played in Germany. Germany was playing the Czech Republic, so that makes sense.
Okay.
So, in what is considered to be kind of the first big upset of this era, in the best of 3 finals, the United States wins. And they didn't just win narrowly. They beat Canada 5-2 twice, which is not a small win. So the tournament MVP was Mike Richter.
Okay.
The All-Star team was Mike Richter, Chris Chelios, Brett Hull, John LeClaire, and then from Sweden, Matt Sundin and Kalle Johansson, who was a defender, played for the Capitals.
So this adds, the USA winning adds to the fakeness of the tournament, right?
I wasn't going to say that, but now that you did.
Well, I just wanted to get it all out there.
So this was like the first big tournament since the fall of the Soviet Union, right? In terms of everyone, all the top players went. But by this point in time, everyone knew that 98 was coming. So the Nagano Olympics, we know that the Czechs won, mostly because Dominik Hasek went crazy and the coaching of Team Canada was insane, but I don't want to get into it. But by 2004, we had 2 Olympics, the 98 Olympics and the 2002 Olympics. And even though, the 2002 Olympics obviously were a success for Canada, they were primarily a success for hockey in general because it helped elevate the stature of hockey in the United States and globally with prime time, best on best hockey in North America. Very good.
Worth mentioning that Nagano 98, that's when women's hockey came in to the Olympics.
Yes. However, so the NHL did not do a World Cup in what you would assume kind of be the in-between year, do a World Cup in 2000, right? They finally got around to doing it in 2004, and it was very evident they were doing it because they were putting pressure on players for the CBA. So the 2004 World Cup of Hockey is the last, pro hockey thing before the lockout.
That burns.
And in fact, it was 2 days after the final that they locked the players out.
That stings.
Which, again, adds kind of to the fakeness of it, right? Mm-hmm. But then we have the 2016 edition. And the 2016 edition is turbo fake. So the previous one, again, was played in multiple host cities. Cologne, Bratislava, Prague, Ottawa, Columbus. 2016 was played all in Toronto.
Lame.
And rather than have multiple players, this is when the NHL was really trying to be like, we really want it to be all NHL players. Mm-hmm. So they invited Canada, Czechia, Finland, Russia, Sweden, United States, Team Europe, which was everybody else in Europe.
Wait, they had a Team Czechia?
Yeah.
For 2016?
Yeah.
And they managed to populate it with all NHL players?
No.
Okay.
Let me pull up the rosters just to double check. Hold on.
Yeah, I was about to say, because, if they could do it, if Czechia could field a full NHL roster in 2016, they should be able to do it this year, and they can't. And that's why they're not in this year's tournament.
They had the incredible Mikhail Jordan, who is not Michael Jordan, but whose name is spelled almost the exact same, who was a free agent. Tomáš Krundacek of Slovan Bratislava, Jakub Nakladal, so players from Traktor, Chelyabinsk, Fribourg Gotteron in the National League in Switzerland, and Avangard Omsk. So they were 5 or 6 players away from a full team.
Close.
Which is, I think, about where the Czechs would be today.
Yeah.
David Krejci, Tomáš Hertl, and Radko Gudas were originally selected but could not play.
Oh, man. And now they're missing out this year.
So the Team Europe, which I think was one of the fake parts of it, they literally just put everyone together. Was that faker
than Team North America?
I mean, we're going to get to Team North America in a second, but they did just kind of throw all these people from countries that don't really play together, including Leon Draisaitl, who at that point was 20 years old. But also Jannik Hansen, who played for the Canucks. I never heard of this guy. I'm sorry.
Trevor would know.
Philip Grubauer, I don't know whatever happened to him.
I hear he's in the AHL.
Yeah, AHL star Philip Grubauer. And then they gave the captaincy to Andrzej Kopitar instead of Zdeno Chara, which I think is infuriating.
Is it?
Yes.
I mean, Kopitar's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's not like Slovenia was going to get a team.
Yeah, but you took away Slovakia's team, and then you also took the C off Big Z. Come on.
Yeah, I can see them being salty about that.
And then there was Team North America, which was under 23 or under the best players in the NHL. And you have to admit, this is an interesting roster when you look back at it. Now, obviously, Johnny Gaudreau, we know now. Yeah. But Jonathan Drouin, Nate McKinnon, JT Miller, Brandon Saad, who just took contract termination, Aaron Ekblad from the Panthers. It's really interesting how a lot of these guys are not going to be on teams this year. I don't think the Nuge made Team Canada.
I mean, no, he's had a terrible year.
John Gibson as a goaltender. Matt Murray as a goaltender.
Yeah, but I mean, that team also had, like, Matthews and McDavid on it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's still a lot of good players on that team. And, I mean, I would argue that Ekblad has only recently fallen off. He has had
He's a good player.
He's had a very good career. He won a cup last year. Like, I don't think that we need to besmirch Aaron Ekblad's name.
No. The captain of that team, who was it? They gave it to McDavid with the A's as Couturier and Ekblad, which again is just kind of funny. Matthews being the captain of Team USA this year. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, again, it's fake, right? Like, these are not real countries. Nobody wanted to see Connor McDavid in a Team North America jersey.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that would really hurt those Canada jersey sales.
Yeah, like that was their first chance to see a guy like him in that situation, and they made up this bullshit. So the Four Nations now feels faker than ever. It's obviously we're not including Russia. We're not including.
Well, I mean, not including Russia is why we have the Four Nations instead of a World Cup.
The World Cup, but that also lets them exclude all these other European countries. It means they don't have to worry. Czechia. They're really screwing Czechia because Czechia is so close.
They're so close. They won the World Championships last year.
I mean, I feel like if you let them grab a couple players from their home league or from Europe, they would be just fine. They'd be at least as good as Finland.
I agree. They would certainly have a real shot. I could see them beating Finland. I could see them upsetting some teams. They're going to go and they're going to play freaking hard. Who
would be on that team? Let's pull it up.
Besides David Pastrnak.
Obviously David I will hazard a guess that if Czechia was allowed to go, David Pastrnak would be on the team. Like,
I think they might give him the C.
Yeah. Martin Necas, Tomas Hertl, Pavel Zacha, Filip Chytil, Andre Palat, Yuri Kulich, Filip Hronek, Radko Gudas, Jakub Vrana. Yeah, see, like, it is starting to run a little low here. Ivan might make the team.
Is he Czech?
Yeah.
He might have
Russian nationality.
Today I learned.
He was born in Czechia.
What does he play for internationally? Like, what's his...
Let's see. Yeah, he's Czech. His international is Czech. Played for the Czech U17 at the Hlinka Cup.
Huh. Today I learned.
Yeah. David Kampf, who's had a terrible season, would be able to go. Yeah, like, I actually do think they have almost enough to go. I think they're missing like 2 defensemen.
Man, that drives me nuts. They could have just let him go.
Yeah, let them call up a couple defenders from home. It's fine. It'd be fine.
It would be fine. Those guys aren't going to play very much anyway.
Who would they send for goalies? Let's see. Is that the problem, maybe?
Do we have... Who's it? I don't know. Who are the Czech goalies?
Lucas Dostal.
Oh, they're
Karel
fine.
Vejmelka.
That's right. He went and Dostal won Worlds. He was the goalie for their Worlds run, and he's terrific. He's a great goalie. They'd be fine.
Jakub Dobeš from Montreal. Big Save Dave. Peter Mrazek, if you want the experience.
Well, yeah. Send Rittich, send Dostal to play the games, Rittich to back him up, and Dobeš to sit on the bench. Or to sit in the press box,
right?
And learn. Perfect. Yeah. Perfectly fine goaltending.
Okay, so
better than Canada's.
I don't want to talk about Canada. I think that team Czechia would at least have a puncher's chance.
Absolutely.
I can understand why you can't do Slovakia, but Czechia should be there.
Yeah.
So you've said Canada's goaltending is suspect, and I concur. Although it is worth noting that only 2 goaltenders in this tournament have won the Stanley Cup, and they're both on Team Canada.
Okay, good for them. Binnington still stinks.
I don't think Binnington gets the starts. I think
he gets the first start.
I think he gets the first start. I don't think he gets the majority of them.
Yeah, he may not get the second.
He might not finish the first game.
Wow, that's grim.
I mean, maybe he'll finally get into that fist fight he's been threatening to get into for 5 years and get ejected.
I am actually firmly of the opinion that the NHL has quietly banned goalie fights, and that the refs have been given the officials have been given the instructions that under no circumstances are they to allow goalies to fight in NHL games.
Which is fine and funny, but Binnington doesn't not fight because the refs are stopping him. Binnington literally gets his team members to hold him back while he swings and makes angry faces and then quietly goes away.
Yeah.
He literally does the hold me back, boy, hold me back.
So that first game, Wednesday, February 12, Canada, Sweden.
Yeah.
Olmark hopefully plays.
He backed up the other night in Ottawa, so I think he will be good to go.
Yeah. So.
Though, I think Erson is going to be in the box, and I think it's Gustafsson as the 2G.
Yeah.
So I feel like Sweden is probably going to be...
It's going to be a tough game.
It's going to be a tough game, but I feel like they're going to be a little bit easier than maybe people think, just because like there were a lot, like Elias Pettersson should be a top pivot, and he's underperforming. Their defense is very good, but I think Canada's forwards are better. It's the goaltending that, in all situations for Canada, goaltending could let them down. Mm-hmm. And if Olmark's out there and he's playing as well as he was playing before he was hurt, he's going to be tough to solve.
Yep. I really wonder if he actually plays games this week, because he's going to need it to get back into form before Four Nations.
Yeah. And then we have United States versus Finland. How do you feel there?
I like our chances. I guess I mean USA. I'm not super stoked. I know that the odds are on paper. I think the US has the best team on paper, just from Connor Hellebuck out. They have a tremendous amount of talent. I would not be sad to see Finland upset here, but it would be a huge upset.
Oh, I concur on that front. I think it's doable. If
any one game, anything can happen.
Yeah, I think Finland's the weakest team of the tournament, especially on the back end.
Yep, by far. They just had to name, especially with Heiskanen out.
Yeah, Heiskanen could have been the big pivot they needed.
Yeah, him taking that knee injury, Mark Stone falling on his knee, absolutely.
Good job, Mark Stone. Way to go.
Absolutely brutal.
But like, if you were to tell me that America had 75 shots and UC Saros saved all of them, I'd say, yeah, sounds right.
Could be.
Austin Matthews had 4 breakaways and UC Saros said no. That is entirely in the possibility.
Yeah. Who knows? It'll be a fun game to watch. I'm always excited to watch Barkov play, too.
He's an amazing hockey player. I do think that when you look at like the 3 great two-way forwards of this era, it's him, Bergeron, and Kopitar. Mm-hmm. They all play the game slightly differently, but I think that Barkov is the most exciting to watch because I think he's a little bit more explosive offensively, and I think he is just so very good at those small defensive plays. I think probably Bergeron was the better defensive forward, and I think Kopitar is probably a better offensive forward in that vein, but I really like how Barkov straddles that line. He's the kind of player that if you could just photocopy him and have 12 of him, he's the exact player you'd pick for that role, you know? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't want 12 Matthews, but you would want 12 Barkovs.
You would win a lot of tournaments with 12 Barkovs.
You would win all the tournaments with 12 Barkovs.
Yeah, you would.
How are you feeling about Canada's likely all defense line of some combination of Stone, Cirelli, and probably Konechny or maybe Bennett?
I think they won't get scored on much.
I think that has the potential to shut down any offensive line in the tournament.
Absolutely.
It's really good.
Yeah. They won't get scored on much. I don't know. And honestly, if they just kind of win those minutes in terms of just like holding it off, they're fine. They don't need to produce offense from that line.
No, and I think that any line, wherever Sidney Crosby ends up, that line will be pretty defensively responsible as well. I'm kind of not a fan of doing the all Nova Scotia line. Like I am as a native Nova Scotian, obviously, it appeals to me.
McKinnon, Crosby, Marchand.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I get it. I don't know either. Like I don't know about like who's the center? Crosby or McKinnon?
It's okay. McKinnon.
Okay.
It's McKinnon unless you're in the defensive zone and you need to win the face-off. Then it's Crosby.
I mean, any wingers take face-offs all the time.
Yeah, but like Crosby is one of the best face-off. He is the best face-off man of all time. Nobody has won more face-offs than Sidney Crosby.
Does McKinnon shoot left or right? Now we're really getting into the weeds. I'm sorry.
Right.
Right? And Crosby shoots left?
Yeah.
I don't hate that.
Yeah. And like I understand why you would want it again. I just think Marchand has not been playing well.
I
don't think he should start the tournament.
Marchand's the weak link, but he's gonna be fine on that line.
I would put Hagel there.
Oh, Hagel is a juicy option.
Put Seth Jarvis there.
I mean, here's the thing. I am a huge Seth Jarvis fan. I think that kid is great. But he is the youth, and Canada hates the youth. I don't know. Option. I don't know if they're going to trust him to do it, even though I think he would be great on that line.
So a lot of people think the top line is going to be Marner, McDavid, Reinhart.
Okay.
But I think you could move Reinhart to the second line and do Reinhart, McDavid, Crosby. And then you do, or not McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby. And then you have...
Now that line would never, ever get scored on. Then
you have Marner, McDavid, and literally anybody else you want. Braden Point's probably going to be third line center.
Okay.
Which is an incredible luxury.
Yeah.
And it feels like he'll probably play with Hagel. Or something like that. But yeah, I would do like Hagel, Marchand, Point on the third line.
I don't hate it. Here's the thing about Canada's forward lines. They can do whatever they want. They're going to be fine.
Yeah, they're going to have like every line's going to have one of the best players in the world on it.
Yeah. And
it's
going to be it's a tough nut to crack.
And I think for the United States that is not necessarily true.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that the United States, your best players in the world are Austin Matthews, Connor Hellebuck, and maybe Adam Fox. Werenski is having a hell of a season, though. Like, maybe he should be considered the star on defense there.
He is having a hell of a season. I am not sure if how healthy he will be.
Yeah,
I think that's up in the air. Team USA has been very lucky so far around injuries, but Werenski is not playing today as we record, so I'm not sure. Hopefully he's back to being healthy next week, but who knows? Who knows what he's nursing?
Nice.
I noticed that you didn't
mention Alex
mention
Pietrangelo.
I noticed that you did not mention Matthew Tkachuk.
I like Matthew Tkachuk as a hockey player, but he has not been the guy he was 2 years since he got his sternum broken. He hasn't been the same player.
He had a very good second half of last year. I was not shocked that he started slow with that injury. He had a very, very good second half of last year. He's been real streaky this year. The season has been really streaky for him. Leif, go lie down. Dog.
So it's very clear that it's going to be Matthews top line center.
Absolutely.
But who do you put on a line with Austin Matthews?
Let me go look up the roster. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, here we go. Jack Hughes.
Do you put him there and not put him as like third line pivot?
Yeah, I would okay, who would we pick for centers? Eichel, Matthews, and I'd probably put Larkin on the fourth line. Here's the thing. I
wouldn't put Mark Larkin on the fourth line.
As the fourth line center?
I don't like it.
No? Why don't you like it?
I think it should be JT Miller.
It could be. Okay, but here's the thing about Jack Hughes. I don't want him to play third line minutes.
No.
I want him to play top line minutes. So do you
think he's better on the top line though than I would almost move Eichel to third line center.
Okay, I'm willing to hear that argument. I'm not a huge Eichel fan. Okay, so if you played down the middle, Matthews, Hughes, Jack Hughes, Eichel, and Miller. Okay, then you've got
Miller and the Chucks on your fourth line. And I think that is a really good fourth line.
You want to put both Kachucks on the fourth line.
They're going to be playing together wherever else they go.
First of all, I don't think that you can assume that. And second of all, Matthew Tkachuk is wasted on the fourth line. Matthew Tkachuk is going to play on the first line with Matthews. That's where they'll start. That's where they'll start.
Okay, they might start there, but I think that top line, the
Connor,
two people on the top line,
it's going to be Kyle.
It should be Kyle Connor and Jake Gensel.
I kind of like Gensel for the second line, but sure.
I think Gensel's a top line guy. I think you put him out there with Austin Matthews. Kyle Connor passes, which is why you need him with Matthews, because Matthews will want to shoot. But Gensel is the guy you pass
Kyle
to once.
Connor also shoots.
They can all shoot. Like, okay, they're all capable of scoring NHL hockey goals, SJ. But if Matthews is healthy enough to play.
Here's why I think you want Matthew Tkachuk on the first line if you're going to play with Matthews and Kyle Connor. He is going to do so much of the dirty work around the net and puck retrievals around and behind the net for that line. Like, Matthews and Kyle Connor are not physical players. They do not want to mix it up in that fashion. And they're going to need a more physical power forward on that line, I think, to make it work. So they can play Tkachuk at right wing. I think that's what you got to do.
Okay, but I think that the Tkachuks get to play together on a power play unit.
Yeah, sure. I don't care about the power play.
Give them something.
Yeah, they can play together on the power play.
There we go. I think Matt Boldy is getting top 6 minutes.
Oh, that'd be exciting.
He's someone I would really want to see. Like, a Boldy.
Play him with Hughes?
Maybe make Boldy, Hughes, Brady, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Does Boldy play left or right wing?
He shoots left.
Shoots left. Yeah, but what does he play?
Right.
Okay.
Brady plays left, so.
That makes sense to me then.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty good little line. Brady
Tkachuk, Jack Hughes, Matt Boldy. I like it. It works in my head. We're doing roster. Did we want to do roster construction on the show? Like line construction?
It just happened.
It just happened naturally.
We put down Four Nations discussion on the sheet, and then we just discussed things until we got here.
We did.
And we weren't sure we would have enough to talk about, but we're now in like 1:07 of recording, so maybe we should just call it here.
Yeah, we should. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, hey, thanks a lot for hanging out, SJ, and thank you, dear listener, for hanging out. This has been The Neutral Zone Hotel, which is written, hosted, and produced by us, the Neutral Zone Hotel crew. We're on neutralzonehotel.com. That's neutralzonehotel.com/Discord if you want to join our Discord. Neutralzonehotel.com is also our Instagram, Bluesky, YouTube. Feedback at neutralzonehotel.com. Send us an email. Our logo is always designed by Emily Mowbray. Please, thumbs up, 5 stars. Help us spread the word of this show. Tell one of your hockey friends about us. That'd be pretty cool. And we'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.